Question 3 is about rate of change. We are looking at a inverted right circular conical container, and we are given the base is 5 meter. So here is 5, here to here is 5 meter, and the height is 15. So here 15. And we are told that water is poured in at the rate of 12 meter cube per second. It means we are given dV dt is 12. And supposed to find rate at which the water level is rising. So water level, if you call it H for water level. Then that means what you want is to find dH dt when the radius of the surface is 2. Find dH dt when the radius is 2. So what you have to do is first you must know that volume of a right circular cone is actually 1/3 pi r square h, 1/3 pi r square h. So you must have a relation between r and h. So if let's say here is r and here is h, you can look at similar triangle. For the big one, you look at the full conical thrust, so it will be 5 and 15. You are given the radius is 5, height is 15. And when it's r, radius is r, this is the water level. So let's say water is until here, then this is h. And you can do this, you can do similar triangles. So you can do similar triangle. So you can say r over h. You take r over h, it must be 5 over 15. So you take r over h, it must be same as 5 over 15. So using similar triangle, it will give you 1/3. So that's what you're doing here. At time t, you let the height of the water level be h, the radius of the surface be r. So meaning is like this. Meaning you fill in water. So water is when you fill in water, if the radius is r, then the height we call h. Okay. So that's how we have this. So you fill in water. So this is what you should have. So when the surface radius is r, the height is h. And then I mentioned volume of water is 1/3 pi r square h. And since you have r is h over 3, so this r square, right? The r square term, you replace it by h over 3 square. And then you simplify it, it gives you pi over 27 h cubed. So from here you can do differentiation. Differentiate h cubed will give you 3h square. So that's how you get the 3h square here. So with that, we dV dh. What you have here is v in terms of h. Is v in terms of h. So you can talk about dV dh. Then I mentioned differentiate h cubed is 3h square. So it gives you pi over 9h square. The question gives you dV dt is 12. If you look back to the question gives you dV dt is 12. dV dt is 12, which I mentioned here already. And what you want is to find dH dt when r is 2. Using chain rule, right? What you want is to find dH dt, which is same as dH dV times dV dt. So I mentioned what you need is to find dH dt when R is 2. So using chain rule, dH dt is dH dV times dV dt. Then you know that dH dV, you can write it as 1 over dV dH. Okay, so that means you can write it as 1 over dV dH times dV dt. So which means it will be same as dV dt divided by dV dH. That's why it's dV dt, which is here, and it's 1 over. So dV dH becomes the denominator. dV dt is 12, so we sub 12. dV dH we just work out is pi over 9h squared. So with that you will get 108 over pi h squared. And the question says what you want is to find dH dt when R is 2. So you must make use of R is 2. So bear in mind R is 2. Then from here you can work out H. R is 2, so 2 is 1 third H. 1 third H. So this will imply H is 6. So that means you sub H as 6. So we sub H as 6. So this H square becomes 6 square, and you get 3 over pi as an answer. And you can change it to decimal, is 0.955, and height is meter per minute. The height, radius all given in meter. So that means the change in water level, the rate of water level rising should be in meter per minute.